Here.
Lorick.
Here.
Dukenyak.
Here.
Toman.
Here.
Gale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Here. Would everybody please rise for the pledge? Do we have a veteran with us? Not today. Steve Kurkowski, would you lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. This is a special Common Council meeting. Tonight we are going to go over our budget draft for 2018. And this will be a public hearing. So to lead us off, Bridget, are you taking it?
Catherine, do you read
Catherine,
the public
you wanna-
hearing? We
oh,
do
I'm
this
sorry,
every
read it
year.
in.
That's okay.
Every year. Why do we never remember?
I don't know. And let's just see.
Do you have your packet?
Okay. Notice is hereby given that on Monday, November 20th, 2017, the Common Council of the City of Oak Creek will meet in the Civic Center Council Chambers at 8040 South 6th Street at 6 o'clock p.m. for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the 2018 proposed executive draft budget. The purpose of the public hearing is to solicit public comment on the city's 2018 annual property tax levy and budget. A summary of the 2018 proposed executive draft budget is published herewith, and public notice is hereby given that the budget details available for public inspection at the city clerk's office at the Oak Creek Civic Center, 8040 South 6th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, during the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. Monday through Friday. The proposed water and sewer utility proprietary fund budget is not included in this notice. The Water and Sewer Utility Commission is expected to review the proposed budget at their regular meeting on Tuesday, November 14th, 2017, dated this 24th day of October 2017.
Thank you very much, Catherine. We'll now move on to our financial director, Bridget.
Good evening. Thank you for attending the public hearing for our 2018 draft executive budget. The 2018 proposed budget maintains our 2017 service levels as well as a balanced general fund. As we continue to go through the process here, you will find that our budget is currently funding $3.1 million in capital expenditures for 2018. We are funding a new detective, a new police officer, and a new firefighter, as well as funding dispatch and library staffing model changes. This proposed budget has wage adjustments for all of our employees allocated, and all funds that are supported by tax levy are balanced. In addition to that, we are looking at a 5% EMS fee increase within this budget and a stormwater fee increase of $2 from $33 to $35. On October 13th, 2017, the Common Council met to have an open public budget workshop. At that time, we expected our expenditure restraint cap to be 3.06%. We've since received our notice from the state, and our cap is 3.3%. So I'll always take being conservative and having a little more room and flexibility. Based on conversations at the council level during that workshop, the expenses have been allocated to include the one officer and the one firefighter in the respective police and fire budgets. The Common Council requested that the stormwater rate be increased to $2 versus the $1.50 that the staff was asking during that budget workshop. This request was so that we could begin creating a capital reserve account in 2018 versus 2019. And the Common Council approved this rate increase at its November 7th meeting. During the budget workshop, there was some conversation around a few line items in the budget for the police and fire departments. Those changes were made as discussed, and we had additional increases that were minor to accommodate for the increased staffing of each of the officer and the firefighter. So a little bit in the tuition reimbursement and travel training line items that we had to adjust accordingly. At the second budget workshop on October 18th, the Common Council discussed our proposed CIP or CEP, the capital improvement requests and recommendations. We discussed some changes to a few items, including the choice of leasing a new lift truck instead of buying it outright, With that choice to lease, we also chose to not fund one of our smaller Toro mowers that we discussed so that we could purchase a larger mower that had more bandwidth, as well as complete a partial restoration of the Miller Park Pond. We also discussed and requested at that time that we add the $700,000 expense for the private property inflow and infiltration reduction project to be grant funded. And we had a small streetlight request that was requested to be funded and is funded in front of you tonight. Looking at a brief summary here of our general fund revenues, your revenues in 2018 budget increased over 2017 by $623,411. That's a 2.63% increase. This is due to an increase in our transportation aids of $361,000, as well as our new construction allowable tax growth, which was $383,000. Shifting to the general fund expenditures now, your 2018 budgeted expenditures have increased over 2017 by $741,266, or 3.14%. Again, the budget in front of you is balanced, maintains 2017 service levels, and adds 3 new personnel to public safety. The city continues to be fiscally responsible and prudent stewards of the citizens' tax dollars. Under the state levy limit, the city was able to increase our levy by $383,000, as I mentioned earlier, or 1.93%. That brought our levy to $20,261,131. And you can see that that $20 million is spread through the general fund, our EMS or paramedic fund, solid waste, debt service, and consolidated dispatch. And just for point of reference, from 2005 through 2018, CPI increased by 22.89%, and our city tax levy in aggregate increased 19.09%. This is just another chart to be able to show you that city tax levy or the proposed levy broken out in a different view, with 65% of the levy going towards general fund, EMS at 19%, solid waste and dispatch each at 6%, and debt service at 4%. As we begin to talk about the projected tax rate, I will firmly state that this is a projection. The city treasurer will move forward with the levy that is approved tonight, and will put this puzzle piece into the mix to complete the final tax rate. So please, again, as we are talking tonight, this is a projection. So as we discussed with our $20 million levy, that would yield a projected tax rate of $6.41 per 1,000 of assessed value. That would be our city tax rate. That is down 19 cents from last year. Last year, we were at $6.60 for our city tax rate. So if you look at a median home of $196,000 of assessed value, the city-only portion of that tax bill would be projected to be $1,256.36. That is down $37.25 from last year. Just to give some perspective, as we try to every year, that $1,200 is in most cases less than some residents are paying for their for their cell phone services or for their cable services. And that is the rate with which they are getting city services. So using that median home value of $196,000, that generates $1,256.35 for city tax dollars for city services. If you look at that on a monthly basis, that median home is paying $104.70 a month for city services. We went further to break down and to show you that effectively in a month, residents are paying $24.79 for fire and EMS services, $30.46 for dispatch, police, and court, and so on. At this point, I'm sure you're sick of me rattling numbers, but you can see how this breaks out and brings it to $104 a month, which some may say is very reasonable and low cost for your city services. With that, thank you for your time, your attendance, and your input throughout this process. I greatly appreciate it, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Great. And as this is a public hearing, we will make 3 calls. If you're wishing to speak, you can take a form, as some of the people have done. Please name and address and bring it to the front, and we'll take it in the order received. So this will be the first hearing, or the first call. First person wishing to speak, Mr. Sig Tomkowski.
Thank you. This is an exciting day. Budgets are important. No money, no mission. I was
Address, please.
First, 210 West Oak Leaf Drive.
Thank you.
I was just reflecting on the fact that I came here 14 years ago and got a sense of what the city was all about, recognized that it was identified as the fastest growing community in the southeast, or in Wisconsin, actually, one of 2. And since that time, I was in my reflection, I realized that there's been a lot of change and development. First of all, on things that we see at a physical level with all of the businesses and things that have happened in the past. But at the same time, I realize that organizations go through stages of development, those that are progressive. So we have the physical, and now in looking at the budget and some of the things, I find that there's really strong initiative to carry this municipal entity through a stage of development by changing. The 2 features are the creation of the Division of Public Works, the DPW, and the other one was the budget format. The DPW is a more modern and contemporary form of organizational design versus the functional. It has a lot of features and benefits that will streamline things to a great degree. So that's a very important thing. The other one is the budget format. This is a way of communicating more broadly what the budget is all about in this community versus letting people carry a perception that's not accurate and then making an attribution which is irrelevant. So these are 2 very positive examples of change as an organization in our area. Very positive actions with, I know there will be new outcomes coming along in the future. At the same time, I looked at the budget. I didn't review 277 pages like I would have years ago. They were much less than that. I just looked at the summaries that were provided, and I was looking for identifying things that showed what the changes were. The simple things were that, not simple, they're actually important and critical, that there's been an increase in the fund balance. That's a very positive thing from the 2017 budget. The debt capacity is very stable and within a very reasonable perspective. The major improvement projects, public work projects funding has increased, and this has been a matter of a lot of concern over the years. And so there's a very progressive action. And the revenue and expenses increases are really 3%, which is very reasonable in our society. When I look at my budget from year to year, 3% is very respectable. When you had the opportunity to look at the chart over there, 40% is spent for public safety in terms of the fire department and the police department. That's very customary. That's a very reasonable, customary thing, and you can't, that's a basic important function of a community. So that was very reasonable. Everything else seemed to fall down into place. I must say that the leadership, the staff, and yourselves should be commended very highly for spending a great deal of time in an open environment working on creating a budget plan for the next year. That's what it is. It's a budget plan. And in review of all of that, it references a lot of the diligent work. So it's not a haphazard things like I've seen in some communities that I've worked with in the past, but it's a very serious thing and very thorough. What do I think about the future? I think I would suggest that working on another financial plan, the one was developed 3 years ago, it's up for either redoing or forgetting about for the next 3 years. That, I think, gives you a little roadmap of where things have been, but maybe where they're going to go, rather than just sit once a year in a budget meeting and saying, well, here we are. That's important, and a lot of communities have begun to do that. Secondly, I think the emphasis and focus on communication and marketing of this community is extremely important, and I can see where there's already benefits happening. There's more attention on the news, on the TV shows, the weather reports about Drexel Town Square and Oak Creek. And that's bringing a lot of attention rather than have a hidden gem down here. And the other thing is I think that we're all involved in development. And economic development is a new key word in municipal governments, and it's being done to some, in some fashions here, but just titling it that way gives a little focus that say, oh, that's something I can connect with versus community. What's that? So those are just a couple of side comments. I realize that many times the road to success is always under construction. And the change that occurs is a step of enhancement in an organization. That's what I've learned in my life. And I feel very proud to be a resident here for as long as I can. And thank you all for your hard work. That's all I have to say. I don't want to go into a microscopic issue. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for those observations. We appreciate your remarks. Next, we have Mr. Arden Dagner.
Arden Degner, 8540 South Pennsylvania Avenue. As I looked at this budget, I did not see, except tonight, apparently there is the tax rate is not increasing. However, and to me, that's a remarkable occurrence. With all these spenders, with all the TIF districts, I still have a question on this debt, because I understand that there's this unfunded pension liability for employees present and past. I know we paid a part of it, and I don't think that that's included in our debt. And I would think that that would be included to because it's on the backs of somebody, and who's it besides the taxpayers? So I'm surprised that there's no increase with all these expenditures going on, and even with the waste of another individual doing nothing but tourism development in the city, and all this publicity on the television. The Green Bay Packers are losing, so they're not going to get anything out of it. Do we have to spend all that money on this publicity thing? And my taxes won't even begin to cover all that kind of money. This is reconsider all that expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dagner.
Oh, another question.
Yes.
Is how is this EMS logged into the budget? Is that going to be another line item as a fee in our tax bill?
We're gonna answer your questions in order. We're gonna start with the OPEB liability.
I'll try not to go in order. I'll
All right.
just try to cover them.
Okay.
In terms of the unfunded liability for our OPEB or other post-employment benefits, that is an unfunded liability. That is correct. Every other year, we are required to go through an actuarial report. In the state of Wisconsin, we are not required to show that other than in the footnotes of the audit annually, which we do. It is not debt. It is not going to be debt. We are operating under pay-as-you-go, which means in this budget as well as budgets in the past, we have budgeted for those costs on an annual basis. We are paying those retirees and the health insurance and those benefits that are needed annually every year. And as the contracts from those individuals have been changed and altered in the past years, we will see that liability continue to reduce as we have in the past 3 OPEB reports. So that's something that the council is familiar with. In terms of the city tax rate, I believe we are on 3 years running of the rate going down. So we have been prudent, Mr. Degner, in terms of how we have spent those funds, and that is largely due to increased assessed value and increased construction throughout the city. In terms of the EMS fee, the EMS fee has already been in existence, in the EMS or paramedic fund. So that's already been in place and has been for a very long time. So this is just receiving a 5% increase based on calls for service or need. And I believe your final point was relating to tourism. And I remind you, as well as the council, that room tax dollars, that is what we are mandated by the state to spend. That is not your tax dollars. There is not a penny of the tax dollars that are going towards marketing or tourism or that new fund that we created this past year. That was a mandate through state law that we had to utilize our room tax dollars for those purposes, or we would lose them. And the room tax dollars are an additional tax placed on every hotel in the city of Oak Creek, where they charge that to their patrons, and then they pay the city, and it goes towards the tourism.
Are there any other unfunded pension benefits? Yes, I realize the fact that we're paying as we go, but I thought we had a backlog of unfunded pension benefits that have not been addressed yet.
Well, they've all been addressed. I don't know that I would qualify them as a backlog, as we are like every other Wisconsin municipality that holds these unfunded liabilities.
Oh, doesn't that sound good? Yeah.
But I would say that it's in your audit and that every other year you have that report to review, and we have reduced it by millions of dollars in the past 2 years. So we are waiting for that bell curve. We are about at that top where we will be reducing the bell curve.
Thank you, Bridget. Very well done. And again, I'd like to reiterate, our tourism is really not a waste. I find that that word not appropriate. It's really a proactive investment in the community to bring other people in here and to enhance the lives of the residents we have. And as Bridget stated, there's no tax dollars involved with those. Those do come from room fees, and that is state mandated. So we're actually being very proactive with those dollars and putting them to work for the citizens here. So I will now make the second call. Anybody wishing to speak? Please approach the podium. Name and address, please.
Card. My name's Mike O'Brien, and I live at 420 East Quail Run. I noticed that you said the levy went from 660 in 2017 to 641 in 2018.
Opposed.
I'm sorry.
Opposed.
Oh, okay, proposed. How much did the median home value change between those 2 years? That's my only question right now.
I know that, I believe we were, hold on. From 2017 to 2018, I can tell you that our assessed value as a whole for the city went up 6.32%. And from 16 to 2017, the assessed value went up 2.05%. So that's grand scale, not necessarily on the individual homes that I can call out, but grand scale, that's what the city's assessed value went up by. 6.32%. The city's entire assessed value went up from 2017 to 2018, and then last year from 16 to 17, it went up 2.05%.
Does that answer your question, sir? Okay, can we break it down a little bit? Just
I think he's, Bridget, angling at individual homes. They have the appraiser would have to have information on that.
You know, you showed the projected, is it mill rate? Went down, but if the projected value of the median home went up, that offsets. So that's why I asked the question. And I did not really understand the answer, but.
And I believe if I'm understanding your assumption or your inkling, you are correct. I have not been able, I am not going down to a home value individually. If the city treasurer, Barb, would like to come up and add to it, that'd be great, because she deals closer with the assessor than me.
Don't quote me on it exactly, but I want to say our assessor had said it was like, the average was somewhere around 4 to 5%. That the average home went up.
The average home went up 4 to 5%.
Somewhere around there.
What was the percentage decrease in the mill rate? Can't be very much. 20 cents on $6 and a half.
No, I thought I had it written in my notes.
But just remember too, ours is not the only tax rate. There
No,
are
no,
other
I
tax rates that
understand,
go
yeah.
into your tax bill. So you
But
can't
Fred
just
was
base it all
telling
on
me
that.
what the school board did with their capital improvement budget.
Remember, sir, that, we operate under state levy freeze. The only actual levy increase you get is your net new capital growth. So existing homeowners, other than relatively speaking next to their neighbors and how their home values change, the levy as a whole is frozen, other than your existing new growth or your net new growth. So the only new tax dollars coming into the city are from net new construction. The rest of it just gets reshuffled every year.
Don't residents' assessed value go up from year to year?
Some go up, some go down.
Some go up, some go
On
down.
average? Would you say
On
it's?
average?
Would you
I
say
don't-
it's zero?
On any given year, it depends on home sales in the area. So,
So,
I mean, go back to the recession and home values fell. So
well, yeah, we're not in a recession.
no, we're not in a recession, but again, it really depends. Right now, I would suspect with the Oak Creek housing market that values are a little higher. Third and final call. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach podium. Name and address. Seeing nobody else wishing to speak, we'll now close the public hearing and we'll open it up to the council for questions and comments. Andrew.
Can I just make a few statements, Mayor?
Sure.
Thanks. And if anybody brought a violin, there's going to be an appropriate time in this little spiel to pull it out and start playing it, I presume. Just a couple quick comments, though, really. I failed to make this comment at the budget workshop, but I want to make it now, and I think it's important for the folks in the room and the folks at home to hear this. I really thought coming in, this is my first budget, really my first budget with the city, and I really thought coming in that, the rhetoric that I was hearing, that things were tight and the departments had struggled the last few years from a financial or budgetary standpoint. We always wanted to do more than we could, and we were asked to do more with less. I really thought that coming in, I would really be able to, with a larger budget, find some money in these budgets, these departmental budgets. Find where the nuts were buried, so to speak. And throughout this process, it came to my realization that extra, the fluff, if you will, just seriously does not exist. And this is a newcomer's perspective looking, a relative newcomer. So I commend the departmental staff, their staff, and the Common Council for wringing that out over the years. I mean, this is a very lean and appropriate budget, and you've been operating that way for many years. So I thought that was important to add, and then I want to add on to something Sig mentioned, and that's this incremental evolution. You'll see in this budget document the resources we've expanded in the public safety arena and in other areas, and you will see in the larger budget document there's an incrementalism and an evolutionary approach to this. You see that with some of the things Sig mentioned with the DPW. And other things. That is purposeful, and that is going to be a constant evolution that you'll see from me and the staff moving forward. The budget document itself you will see an evolved budget document, much more professional looking, much more transparent. The budget will show not only how much we spend, but what we do, how we do it, and how well we do it, with some performance metrics for the first time that we will feature performance metrics for the first time in the budget. And that is in furtherance of a goal that we have in our strategic plan, and we had as a staff leading into the strategic plan, to get our budget credentialed through the Government Finance Officers Association, the highest award you can get to demonstrate your commitment to financial transparency at the local government level. So you will see that. There's differing opinions on whether we're going to achieve that award this year. Typically, they'll hit you pretty hard on the criteria and show you what it is you need to do for the subsequent year to secure that. Finance staff disagree with me. I appreciate that. And you'll also see in that budget document, we are fusing our strategic action plan as adopted by this council. We are fusing that in. That is our gospel moving forward. So you'll see that come together. Now this is where the violin comes in. I just want to express thanks to the council and to the staff. This has been one of the most professionally rewarding years of my life, of my career, and it's really just the welcome feeling that I had coming into this organization. And these people in this room, from the council to the staff and really throughout the organization, really made that a comfortable transition. So I hadn't had the opportunity to publicly thank everybody for that, but it's been a little over a year. And I think that if we couldn't possibly demonstrate to the folks at home, to the taxpayers, the workplace and organizational culture we have, and if we could get them to understand that, I think they would be envious that we have that here, because that should be the goal that any employment sector, public, private, nonprofit, it would be an honor for you to go to work in that environment. So I just want to thank everybody. Again, I didn't speak too much about the exact specifics of the budget. We've been haggling over these for the better part of a month or more. But I just again really think it's a responsible approach, an incremental approach this year, where we had some additional funds available to do some things that we hadn't been able to in many previous years. So just want to thank you for your consideration and time with the budget recommendation.
Thank you, Andrew. Anybody else have comments? Steve?
I think I'll try and keep it brief, but I think this year for me has become a little easier. Each year it gets a little easier to understand the budget process, but I just want to point out that I found it very impressive that on the second budget workshop that we had, and when we talked about CIP, that I believe the total amount, when you added everything up, we were a little over the amount of money that we had to spend. And for those of you that weren't there, it was remarkable to watch one department head say, well, if we do this, then we can kind of do this. And another one said, well, if we can do this, we can kind of do that. And you had all these minds working together. And by the end of the discussion, we were able to get everything, and it wiped out the overage. And it was, you kind of wish that certain other governmental bodies, county and the state, would come to our budget workshops and take a few notes. Thank you.
Anyone else on the right side? Greg? Rich?
I'll chime in a little bit. As with Andrew, a relative newcomer to this entire process of city government budgeting, two things. Just very impressed with the dedication of the staff, Bridget and Andrew, working through these numbers, and then the thoroughness of all of the department heads in letting the city leaders, the council included, knowing what it actually took to, I guess, to have their departments operate most efficiently, and yet allowing us to be good stewards with you, the taxpayers' dollars. Looking at it from just a general resident's perspective, boy, I couldn't be more happy with all of the work that's put into the city budget, and really how much. And I mean, I was a skeptic 3, 4, 5 years ago as a very uninformed citizen about the budgeting process. This has been an incredible education for me, and really in telling my constituents and residents of our community at the incredible amount of work that goes into the budgeting process and how dedicated, again, the staff is, guys. So thank you so very much, and congratulations to you and to the department heads as well. You know, they really have you, the citizen, your best interests at heart, and in making, you know, our community continue to be just a great place to live. So it's been a great experience, and again, guys, thank you for the work with that.
Very much. Mike?
Just a general comment on personnel. I've been on there for a few years now. I'm the old guy on the committee. Last year we had, I think it was 12 to 14 requests, something like that, for personnel. We weren't allowed or weren't able to fund any of them. Dollars weren't there. So it's refreshing this year that we could add to our protective staff, firefighters and police. This community is growing at a pretty rapid rate right now, and we haven't added any protectives in the last, I think it's close to 10 years now. And we addressed that this year, so I'm happy to see that.
Great, thank you. Ken?
Thanks, Mayor. I want to just congratulate Andrew, Bridget, and your staffs for a very noble effort in creating a document, and I think that the community should be very proud of maintaining a sustainable municipal government at a I think a very attractive cost to the community, and the fact that we were able to actually make some proactive moves with regards to some of our departments in DPW. Mike said we're able to finally add some staff in police, fire, dispatch. We were able to do some reorg in health and in the library staffing situation to make those more efficient. So I think the organization and the staff level was charged with, especially when we hired Andrew, went through our strategic plan to refine and reorientate the organization to make it as most efficient and effective as possible. And I think these are great steps along in that process, and I'm very happy to have been a part of it. I congratulate my colleagues on really sticking in there and doing a good job and being very diligent for the taxpayers. And I think a very commendable budget, and pleased that we were able to hopefully approve that here very shortly.
Great, thank you, Ken. Chris?
I think that, in our strategic plan, many things came to light, and we are at a crossroads. There are a lot of things that we have to work towards, and I think transparency, as Andrew alluded to, that's something that is very good to work towards, and I'm all in favor of that. I think that's important too. With Alderman Dukenyak was saying, there's a lot that goes into these budgets that people do not understand or care to see, but they like to complain about. But know this, we're here working every day for you with the staff to make sure that we're getting every bang for our buck here. So this is, I think we're heading in a really great direction, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you. I'm just going to add my 2 cents. Everybody said just about everything very nicely as to what I could add to it. I'm just going to put it out there one more time. The bang for the buck you're getting out of this city is a tribute to the people that work here. And it's just not the department managers. It's people that go out there and perform the work and get it done efficiently for you and keep that rate where it's at. This has not been an overnight process. We've been working at these things for over 10 years, as Mr. Dagner alluded to with the unfunded liability. That's been a work in progress for multiple councils, going back probably even before I got here almost 10 years ago. Mike, you were part of all those too. So you will see those numbers drop. We're very proactive. We're very opportunistic. But we don't do it at the expense of our taxpayers. We're doing it with other people's money, so to speak, like the states with tourism. We're doing public-private partnerships to get some things jump-started here, which will benefit our residents in years to come in ways we can't, I'm not going to say imagine, but when some of these things come to fruition, this is going to be a very well-oiled machine as far as I'm concerned as a city goes. We're going to have a great tax base going on here. We're going to be capable of doing many things. I think it was really interesting and creative that the staff broke this down to say how much it's costing you for city services, not county, not school, not MMSD, but city services for the bang you get. A little over $100, $104 for a fully accredited national fire department to protect you, EMS. Police, 24/7 at your call. Streets plowed, garbage picked up, tax bills mailed out. Parks, recreation, everything that goes along with it, health department, library. That's a lot of things for $104. I think somebody alluded to their cable bill. See if you're getting that kind of bang for your buck out of your cable bill or something like that. So, I mean, that again is a tribute to the people that work here. We're as transparent as can be, and that's proof of it. If you ever see these individuals out here at events, they're always willing to speak about what's going on, whether it's from engineering, traffic and safety, park and recs, finance. They're always willing to answer questions. The city administrator is always open for you, as well as the council or myself. So again, I want to compliment the entire council, but more importantly, the entire staff that makes this budget accomplishable. So with that, I'm done. We can move on to a motion if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll move to approve ordinance number 2884, adopting the 2018 budget and making appropriations.
Guzekowski, I'll second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Leads us to adjournment.
Kirkowski make a motion to adjourn.
Oracle, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and especially those that took time out of their busy day to come down and participate in the process, and the gentleman that spoke today. I really appreciate the comments. Wish everybody out there a happy holiday and safe Thanksgiving. Keep in mind, Thursday morning, 8 o'clock at the Preserve, we're doing a turkey trek. Please bring a non-perishable. For those less fortunate than ourselves, they will be donated. And enjoy the holiday weekend. And again, please get out there, discover, and celebrate Oak Creek. Thank you.